I'll be urging our moderator to kindly take it forward from here.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Prajakta.
Thank you.
Welcome to all the panelists. Thank you so much for gracing this occasion. And we are indeed quite privileged to have such a diverse panel to discuss this important topic. We have tried to touch upon some of it. Mr. Ramji Srinivasan, who is, of course, the foremost leader in this practice area, has also given his thought on it. And then I would like to start the discussion here, and just so that the delegates and the participants in the Congress today can understand, we have divided our discussion into two parts. In the first part, we will be requesting our panelists to generally offer their view on this discussion topic. And then we will move to the second part, where we will be putting some specific questions to the panelists around key burning topics of this area. So first of all, I'll start with you, Kanaya. What is your view on this topic? And basically what has been said for us by Legal Era is that whether our competition regulation currently, which we have in India, is it sufficient and comprehensive enough for tackling the challenges of digital economy?
Well, good afternoon, everyone. Subject competition law has a journey from 2005, and it's still a journey. But in this journey, last few years, there is a dramatical change in platforms, market, relevant market, and the way investigation agency conduct the investigations. And I heard previous panel, Senior Counsel Ramji Srinivasan mentioned that agencies are struggling enough to catch that digitalization platform, and that's a real challenge. So, and in Indian judiciary system, whenever there is a challenge, we say that we require to change, we require to amend the law. But from my personal view, it's not amendment or change the law required at this point of time to some extent, but what's required is competency and technology advancement of investigation agency to catch that level of technology advancement. That's a real challenge, and that needs to be fill the gap. And when there are many judicial development which says that price parallelism and price algorithm per se is not anti-competitive, but I have a different view here. The per se word itself is a very dangerous word, because investigation officer to challenge to deep dive into that facts per se, and finding out the manual intervention in the data, digital data, going to system itself is a challenge. And just because that you don't have enough evidence standard, and therefore you are saying that price parallelism and price algorithm per se is not anti-competitive. But the real challenge is that in the entire ocean of the data, when you have to find out the source of data coming from where, it is just market related data or there is a manual intervention, it's very difficult to prove by officers. And that's, according to me, is a real challenge. So competency, technical advancement is a real challenge. And then comes need of going for amending the law. Otherwise, we keep on amending the law as any other law. But if you don't able to enforce that the way it should be, an evidence standard and technology advancement, then the purpose will not serve. This is my first, take on the question which Sandhu asked me.
Thank you so much, Kanaya. Now I move to Ranveer. Ranveer, what is your view on this topic?
Thank you very much. First of all, I'm really privileged to be part of this panel, and as well as to be speaking, to everybody on the call. So I agree with Kanaya. I'll just, a few slide builds. So, whether when we ask ourselves the question as to whether a legal regime is adequate or not, we also need to ask ourselves that what is the law trying to fix? Is there something which is drastically different, which is needed from the earlier regime or from the existing regime? Are we completely out of key here? And we must be, the legislation also needs to ask that question, is to finally arrive at a conclusion of whether we are adequate or not. So in a view, if you see, I mean, like, the gold standards of competition law remain the same. Now, what we're finding, and if you look at the last few cases as well as the existing cases which are with the CCI, which we are hearing about in the public forum, essentially there is over the last 5 to 7 years, as expected, technology has taken a giant leap, and we are seeing a lot of that in different industries. You can see a lot of that in the Uber, Ola industry, in the cab hiring industry, in the e-commerce industry, in the airlines industry, and in various other industries. And I think we are coming to a point where technology like artificial intelligence and being able to drive algorithms, this has become day-to-day life, part of life. And I think many on the call will also agree that a lot of companies are adopting these technologies to try and understand their consumers better, to in a way to compete more fiercely with each other. And technology has become a very, very important part of our life. It's become inseparable. And now when we look at the legal regime, I think when you apply the gold standards, uh, the competition authorities are essentially trying to live by the same gold standards, and technology by itself is not wrong. It's what the way a human being or a management in an industry will use that technology, which will raise questions. So I think this is a space where I agree with Kanaya that maybe amendments or rapid amendments every now and then may not be the need of the hour. But I really feel that maybe the authorities should be given a little more time to dwell through the various cases which are being presented to them, so that they can also come up with precedents and share with us their logic as to why they find something acceptable or not acceptable. And that itself, the industry practitioners and all of us as students of law, we have also learned over a period of time through precedents. So that is my short take at this point in time, that maybe as we allow the competition commission to declare its precedents and to declare its judgments, we learn along the way, and then we will definitely see how they are applying the gold standards, and whether keeping in mind the technology which we are applying today, that whether we are completely out of key, and whether we've come to a point where we just need to amend something. But otherwise, in summary, I feel that precedents are also very important, and we should allow the authorities that time to share their views as and when it comes.
Thank you so much, Ranveer. So now we'll move to Zamir on this topic. But just as a sidebar on this, I would like to add that even this issue was relevant in the CLRC committee report, because many a times the committee members were urging that, okay, we need to do certain changes. But why the committee finally decided not to do that? Because if a rapid change is made, then over last 10 years, we have collected a body of jurisprudence that will be lost. So I think that is what, Ranveer, what I think you were also referring to. So not taking much time now, we can move to Zamir. Zamir, what is your view on this topic?
So, on this question of sufficient regulation and special regulatory bodies vis-a-vis the jurisdiction of current antitrust and competition bodies, it's a very interesting question from the perspective that, today CCI also starts giving example of Bharti Airtel Limited judgment of 2019, whereby saying tacitly that, we have been given little more right to be on a follow-on jurisdiction as a regulator. So if you see from that perspective, at the outset, India lacks a special regulatory body in terms of today data protection regulatory body or e-commerce regulatory body. We are trying to fix it with consumer law. But it can be observed that CCI has simply taken a role in that in absence of a committed jurisdictional body. And they are overreaching without any immediate ramification, which I see because all judgments are subject to Supreme Court. Such an intention to step into the shoes of special regulator was very evident recently also when CCI responded in the WhatsApp preliminary objection that, we are relying on the judgment of Supreme Court of India in CCI versus Bharti Airtel Limited 2019, where the Supreme Court said that for the purpose of maintaining comity between regulators, had stated that CCI will essentially have a follow-on jurisdiction to a sectoral regulator who will first exercise primary jurisdiction to address technical issues related to the case. And when we talk about India, it's not only happening in India. It's not only the antitrust regulator of India, which is in that particular mode. It's also the European Commission. It's also the developments under FTC in United States. One interesting development which we see in United States when we talk about these big companies, tech companies in India, is that even in United States, there is a bill which is going on, which says Ending Platform Monopolies Act, which is covering Amazon and other big tech companies. The objectivity is that these big companies have a lot of data under their control, and therefore they want to have a structural separation. So this is going on in the United States. A similar example I can give you is of European Commission, which has published proposal for Digital Services Act and Digital Markets Act, which would implement far-reaching regulation to remedy the market power of the data-rich superstar firms, which is called in European Union as GAFA. So what we call FANG here, Facebook, they call GAFA, which is your Google, Apple, Amazon, and Facebook. So, present regulations are there. There are some overreaching circumstances which you see from a jurisdiction point of view. But I think as far as present situation is covered, and to be candid in the fraternity, we are seeing that the wherever CCI is looking at anti-competitive activity, the CCI is exercising an innate and overreaching jurisdiction. That's my humble submission.
Thank you so much, Jamir. So now we move to Saraswan, and Saraswan, you bring from your own practice in UK and your own, observing what is happening there. How are you viewing it? You have heard other co-panelists' view as to how they are viewing the Indian competition law, where they should go. But competition law is not, a practice area where, it is divided by the jurisdictions. In fact, European Union is many a times also called legislator for the entire world, because what they are deciding and, that their cases we often refer to, not so much that of US, but definitely that of EU. So how do you view this topic? And what is your comment on the Indian competition law regime and generally also given your European and UK experience?
Thank you, Shashank. Thanks everybody, to all the other panelists here for, a very, very diverse set of views, and they come from different, they all work as in-house counsels for different companies with different, verticals. So it's very interesting to hear some of the views that have already been put across. Well, the way I see it is like, when we talk about futuristic laws for the new tech world, we are in a sense actually talking about, as we call it, big tech or GAFA or, FANG, whatever, sort of nomenclature you use. Essentially talking about big tech. And I'll actually go back to what a very learned senior advocate in Mr. Ramji Srinivasan talked about the history of antitrust. When he talked about breaking up trust, but that brings to mind Standard Oil, the whole, breakup of the Standard Oil about 120 years ago. And that's kicked off the whole, at that time, the focus of antitrust law was primarily breaking up of trust, and to see the dominance in itself is bad. That was the underlying ethos, or, the USP of all antitrust regulation at that time. Slowly over the years, the Chicago School came in, Richard, there was Bork, I think, and then his theory was obviously competition law. If it culminates in consumer welfare, more choice for consumers, low prices. It's all great, right? And that's the principle which has found its way into modern competition regulation, especially in the US. Well, somewhat in the EU, but that I'm coming to that. Now, what's really happened is when you see big tech, why, and all of you talk about changes to the law are not really required. So why do we actually talk about changes in the law? Because it's primarily probably driven by big tech for the simple reason that existing competition regulation, rather enforcement of the regulation, has been found wanting, especially in the Western world, when it comes to big tech. And there is a linkage with privacy laws as well. Now, what has happened? What has happened is, these companies account for most of the market capitalization in the FTSE. You look at the FTSE, NASDAQ, that's what it is, right? They control most of the consumer data in the world, right? They connect, they're all multi-sided platforms, massive network effects, extreme scale, and I'm not even talking about economies of scale. So they're multi-sided markets. They connect, business users with consumers, and that's where a lot of the difference comes in. And in terms of business users, most of the panelists here the companies they represent here are also business customers of these big tech companies, and then obviously we all in our capacities are consumers. So the more data they get from consumers and business users, it kind of entrenches the powerful position they already enjoy in these multi-sided markets. And when that keeps happening, obviously consumers are looking for better matches when they log on to a search engine or to a shopping website or social media network. And then most of these big tech, obviously they're active on more than one of these markets, right? And all of this leads to a situation where it's not even their control on perpetual data and is what we're talking about. We're also talking about what's the consumer harm here, right? So big tech obviously comes up with the justification that, look, it's lower prices for everybody, and the supply of small companies and small and mid forums are accessing everybody else. So where's the consumer harm? However, I mean, that's when we talk about consumer harm is that, you enjoy so much control over data that you can actually dictate terms and conditions to competitors. And you're not just on one platform, like Google's on, runs a search engine, and it runs so many other things like shopping, and it has YouTube, so is Amazon. So now the point is we've had, so in the recent years, enforcement in the antitrust arena has really stepped up against big tech. We've had the Google shopping case. In fact, Google has had 3 big fines handed to it in the last, in the European Union. It has had 1 big case in India. You had new investigations in the EU against Apple and Amazon. You've had the massive lawsuit in the US brought against so many of the states against big tech companies. So what is suddenly driving this surge? I think the answer is a little political as well, right? Because I think after that Cambridge Analytica business, all of this went a little beyond antitrust law into the domain of privacy law, to the point that a lot of people believe it threatens the core of democracy. I mean, that's where all of this drive comes from. The sudden implementation drive comes from. And there, where we are standing now is a situation where the narrative is completely changed a little against these, big tech companies, where they were seen as innovators before, and they're no longer seen as that. They're probably seen as, okay, wait a minute, should we now sit back and, see that is this a big concern for the future? And that's when all the regulators put their mind together in the EU, and they're now thinking, apart from your usual, Article 101, 102 in the European Union, and in, I think, Section 3 and 4 in India, if I'm not wrong, of the Competition Act, there, apart from these usual regimes and the budget control regimes, they're coming up with some sea changes. Now, what is this new approach? This new approach is an approach of ex ante versus ex post regulation. Now, what we have now is ex post. In most of these things, what happens? Somebody complains, you go up to start an investigation, investigation ends, the investigation is protracted, it goes on for years. As we've seen with the CCI in India and even the European Commission, They grapple with the technological expertise required. The proceedings take years, and then appeals take even longer in the courts. By the time the fines are handed out, and so irreparable harm to competition has already taken place, right? And that's probably something that a lot of innovators who've been driven out of the market, the whole process cannot be reversed. And that's where the Digital Markets Act that Zamir was talking about, or even the German Digitization Act, which has already come into force, becomes important. Now, what they're talking about now is that we're going to take some of these big tech companies, designate you as gatekeepers based on some criteria, and then you'll have to come and obviously argue that out, why you're not gatekeepers, and then we're going to place some special responsibility on you, which is specific. There'll be some do's, there'll be some don'ts that you have to do. The do's will be ensure interoperability, portability, ensure that you're giving access to the data you collect from your business users to them, and you don't misuse that data. There's one of the don'ts. Then you cannot give preference to your own complementary services, so on and so forth. So each of these do's and don'ts that the digitization, the Digital Markets Act and the German Act are trying to bring in is based on each of these cases that I was referring to. The Google Shopping case, the Google AdSense case, the Google, the Google Android case, each of these things. So for example, in the Android case, Google was pre-installing its browser in all of customer devices. So that's the thing, right? So each of these things have now culminated into a situation where the regulators are saying that we're going to do this ex ante. And because of Cambridge Analytica and all this becoming election issue in the US, it's the political will is now behind that. So we are seeing a situation, but then when it comes to India, we have to probably, I would suggest it's better to wait and watch, because India is in a different state of its economic development. China has gone ahead, obviously we all know that. India is probably the next big thing, the next superpower, if it performs to its potential. So therefore, India is in a slightly different situation where the choices it makes now, and antitrust is a very important part of that, and privacy laws, it will dictate the future course. So I think it's for the Indian regulator, it's better to wait and watch and not be carried away in this whole surge. I mean, that would be what my sort of...
Thank you, Saraswat. So that brings us to the part 2 or leg 2, I would say, of our discussion. And just a note here, I don't know if it is supported by the structure of our panel discussion today, but if you have any questions, please send it in the chat box. And if we have certain time after our panel discussion, we can put it to our panelists. So bringing that discussion, and thank you so much. And we can ourselves see the contrasting views, as well as, some of the common views which is emerging from panel. So, the excess of data itself, what we say that the way normally we say that being dominant is not bad, but what dominant does is, if they violate the competition law provision, then that it becomes bad. So likewise, having a big data, having a collection of data itself is not bad. What is bad is how you are going to use that data. And just an anecdotal thing is, I was just looking for a replacement of car batteries. I just went, did an online search, and after that, for several days, I was just getting hit by ads around battery replacement, whether it is my mail, whether it is some social media, and I had this unprompted ad on battery, and that is all I searched for is 10 minutes maybe. So that brings to the question of algorithm, and my question would be to Kanhaiya, that algorithms are key to digital economy, whether it is search service, which is Google search, or transactional platform like Amazon or Flipkart, or maybe Make My Trip. In your view, what are the challenges posed by algorithms, and whether the Competition Act gives the CCI adequate power to address concerns arising in an economy which is driven purely by algorithm? For example, what are your views around collusions, or what is your view around the abuse of dominance through algorithms?
Well, Shashank, the point here is that algorithm is not bad per se. Algorithm is a technology and third-party software which company like aviation industry, or be it NTI, Ola, they're using this technology for an algorithm, and algorithm is a new business model for in a business world. But then I would like to demonstrate this entire technology in a very simple word. If there is a heavy rain going on outside and there is a public water tank which is leakaging water, how you will find out that leakage of water is coming from the water tank or it's actually raining? The same thing applies here. In the entire data ocean, data coming from where? Now, algorithm is a technology where they are collecting and processing the data. But this data, if has some manual intervention, if this data has been collected with some collusion behavior, then it's next to the impossible for the investigation officer to find out that whether algorithm is just a method of collecting data in a real-time basis, or it's basically a intervention of some human being, and this data has been poured into the system, and then it has been transferred. So transparency, real-time transparency of data is a one part, but using that data with some intention of collusions and coordinations and doing some coordinated behavior, two real-time challenges are there. And that's why exactly in my first questions to your question is that I said that, look, it's a challenge to the investigation officer to bring about the carpet that what's the real intention of the algorithm. Having said that, in Indian judiciary so far, as I said, the Ola case or with everything just in hand, it says that algorithm is not a problem and is a price parallelism and price algorithm is the same thing. But in that, the truth lies between somewhere else. That in algorithm, if that platform has been used as a hub and spoke or some manual interventions of collusions or coordinated behaviors, that's a real challenge, and that requires to be with a big time data analytical skills in the forest, data forest. So therefore, I think that we are too early or not mature enough as an industry, specifically in competitive industry, to see that whether algorithm is just business model or algorithm is just a shadow to cover up something else behind the curtain. And
Thank
coming
you.
back to the second point of your social media and search engine and all, search engine has a two part. In fact, it's one is about product search or geography search, and then relevant search vis-a-vis the preferential listing as in Google flight case, and we have seen that. Whether I wanted to favor some industry or some product in the market and I give preference list in a search engine, or it's a relevant base, it's very difficult to prove again. But again, market definition, relevant market itself is a very very infant stage in India today. We have not defined market, we have not defined relevant market clearly so far. It goes by judiciary development and all. But having said that, very simple example, again, a simple word, that in a Bandra Kurla complex, is the relevant market is there or not? Product is there, service is there, physical product, physical service is there. But I have the options to buy online something very cost effective. So I will go buy the online product, even the online product is not relevant market. So definition of relevant market, online platform or physical product is all depend on a very simple line, customer dependency on that platform. If as a customer, if I prefer that such particular product is economical and budget I'm getting online in that market, I would not go to the physical stores and buy them. So that is also relevant market definition, which is not captured by any of the judicial development by CCI so far. So we are in the journey of the process of judicial development, and more we have the learnings and this technology. I think then we have the clear picture. And then I think we should require to empower our agencies with the law amendments and authority vis-a-vis the overlapping rules with other sectors, as Jamir mentioned and other panelists mentioned that, jurisdiction issues and all. Jurisdiction issue is always there. There's always place for the special law regulations vis-a-vis the behavioral part of the competition law. So that is always there. But then competency vis-a-vis your behavioral part, competition law become now common law to the extent. Earlier it was a special law, but now because of the development of e-commerce and technology, it has become a common law. Now that common law has to apply with the specific facts in the specific sector. So there is no overlapping sector, but that's overlapping jurisdictions and role to play by each team. That's my second response to your question about search engine and social media.
Thank you so much, Kanhaiya. So now moving to Ranbir, and especially in the context because, of course, you are advising as in-house to consumer goods industry. Uh, you see, manipulation of search result is an issue which is garnering attention of the competition regulator all across. And then recently we have seen the draft e-commerce rule, which also refers to algorithm and the role of algorithm and the disclosures around algorithm. Though Kanhaiya has touched on this issue and other panelists also, I really want to, sort of understand your view, how you are viewing it. The Competition Act is already there. The DG is already investigation a lot of technology and platform market cases where algorithm is an issue. But then you also are coming with a separate e-commerce rule. So is it an indication that government does not believe that the competition law would be able to take care of these situations, and therefore a specific provision need to come out in the e-commerce rules? Your comments, Ranveer.
Thank you very much, Shashank. Thank you very much. So let me just break this up into a couple of points, right? So manipulation of anything, to meet one's individual interests, would definitely be frowned upon by any regulator. Particularly from a competition angle, I think the law is very sacrosanct, and it's very clear that ultimately the intent of it is to enable fierce competition but fair competition. So I think whenever no matter how much digital and how much of technology you infuse into any system, whenever the manipulation happens in a way that is to benefit say either a group of people or and when I say people I mean say a few companies, so a certain sector of an industry or an individual player in an industry, the competition authority would be most right in coming in and taking a look at it, and that's what they're doing, and I think they do it very well. Also, I think the Competition Commission has also shown us number of times, as shown different industries, its ability to understand and really go into the nitty-gritties of this technology. Okay, they are also learning as we are learning, but they have been quite efficient in trying to break down the different areas of technology which are coming in, be it artificial intelligence, be it algorithm, be it machine learning, anything. So from that perspective, if there is that the manipulation, the Commission will definitely come at it. I think let me just change the question a little bit differently, Shashank, is from the perspective of in-house counsel. I think this technology ultimately does what? I mean, if you look at it very simplistically, it's a kind it's a software which will get more and more sophisticated as we live on. Now, I think as in-house counsels, we have a very important role to play here, and many may not realize it, but if we work with the business, with our respective businesses, to educate them about what is the law trying to achieve specifically under, say, competition law, and give them a heads up that look, no matter what technology you're trying to use, these are the kind of guardrails which you should have around it. Create an ambience of almost like a competition law compliance program in your company, and spread the awareness of competition law more and more. I really anticipate that if this kind of a message is spread throughout industry and companies, I think we will be moving in the same direction as the competition authorities, to prevent manipulation. I find a lot of on several occasions, what may happen is, if when business comes up with an idea, and if they don't engage with legal, or legal does not engage with them at the right point in time, then you might see a more reactive reaction from the entire legal industry, to a particular problem, and that is when this entire question comes in to say that, okay, then is the authority dealing with a law which is not adequate? So I think again, I go back to what I was saying in my in my previous, in my opening remark, is that if you the standards which the authorities will apply are pretty much the same gold standards. Now, what we are also seeing is because of the speed at which the digital economy is unleashing itself. I think if we just sit and wait to see, to understand everything in its totality, and not do anything, that also may be counterproductive. Where because I think I think Zamir was talking about it, is that by that time, if you come in too late, or my colleague Saraswat may have been speaking about it, that if you come in too late with a specific legislation, then by that time the damage is done already. So I think it is but natural to see the economy develop, and also little bits and pieces of legislation develop. But we've got to be careful that while we're doing this, it doesn't become a knee-jerk reaction, and the authorities or the legislations don't start overlapping into different domains. And that is when there's just going to be it's like a spaghetti of legislation, and we'll all be sitting here with much more work, much more brainstorming to do, but ultimately it is going to be counterproductive.
Thank you, Ranveer, so much. So just staying with this topic, and Zamir, and you have also referred to it in your opening remark. Given and we have experience, and in fact, in the CCIs, a lot of 26(1) order has been passed recently. WhatsApp order is there, which also traveled to Delhi High Court as to the jurisdiction of whether CCI had jurisdiction in that case or not. What do you view? Whether there is a overreach by the CCI, or what Ranveer is also referring, spaghetti of legislation is there. So what is happening there? How do you, as a commentator, how do you view that?
So taking examples and cues from everyone, including the phone calls or messages you are getting for looking out for a battery on Google or wherever. The message is very clear. I mean, CCI dwelled upon it. This is one of the interesting thing in the order which they said. We have been using these 5 golden words for a very long time. In 2006, when Reliance came into this digital business, Balaji Alt was there, where I was associated in those examples. We use these 5 words left, right, and center, including but not limited to. So, if you open the privacy policy and realize today that it has 30 times mention of it, that's going to be there in most of your emails also, which you would be using today. But the ongoing and one of the most debatable example would be of the CCI suo motu probe in WhatsApp for its privacy policy. The CCI passed a suo motu order where it directed that there should be an investigation in WhatsApp for alleged abuse of dominance with respect to new privacy policy, which was in fact deviating from its previous judgment in Vinod Kumar Gupta versus WhatsApp, wherein CCI had held that it will not dwell upon privacy concerns as they fall under the purview of different legislation dealing with information technology. So this was one of the tectonic shift what we saw there. Number 2, recently CCI exhibited a significant shift in perspective, acknowledging that when we talk about privacy can also take the form of non-price competition in its market study on telecom sector, which was published in January 2021.
Yes.
It further stated that unreasonable data collection and sharing could provide a competitive advantage to dominant players, potentially resulting in abuse of dominance. So here we are, we are ready with the whole 360 degree, saying that, this is my position and now I'm coming on that route to you if you fall under that particular category. In the present case also, CCI found WhatsApp to be in dominant position in the relevant market over the top messaging apps through smartphones. As previously, it was also observed in the case of Harshita Chawla versus WhatsApp. CCI had noted that users are not provided with an appropriate granular voluntary choice to object or opt out of that data sharing, unlike 2016 WhatsApp privacy policy update. It also observed that there was an unfair and unreasonable condition for the users to accept, to update, to essentially conclude and contract continuing use of WhatsApp service or take it or leave it. And therefore, CCI concluded that take it or leave it policy amounts to abuse of dominant position, and prima facie then it came to that conclusion. But while we make that statement for India, there was a similar example on German cartel. German cartel against Facebook for exploitive business terms with respect to data collection and lack of choice to users. In fact, the GCO, the main contention to hold Facebook liable was the fact that users were consenting to the terms and conditions to essentially conclude the contract, which translates into a situation where a user is not provided a choice to opt out. Facebook was mandated to provide that voluntary consent to users, which meant that usage of their service should not be subject to the consent of sharing of data. Now, if you see this German case is exactly the statement of Mr. Harish Salve in court, where he says India does not have a privacy law. We would hold on for that privacy law. I am not adhering to this, agreeing to the jurisdiction of the CCI. But once the data privacy law comes, we would decide whether we want to shut shop here or we want to continue to comply with the regulation. Another example would be CCI's probe into the Amazon and Flipkart's vertical agreements with the seller, where the Competition Commission of India was asked by the court whether it had the jurisdiction to order investigation into an alleged anti-competitive practice of e-commerce platforms, because Amazon had earlier contended that CCI was overstepping its jurisdiction by ordering a probe on the e-commerce giant. In fact, these companies argued that the only body which can look into the violation of FDI policy was Enforcement Directorate and not CCI. Thanks to that argument, even ED is now on that subject matter. However, CCI at that point of time also cited previous Supreme Court judgments to argue that confidentiality only applies in cases where trade secrets are involved. The court also asked CCI counsel whether information on the basis of which probe was ordered was sufficient. So that went into that particular domain. But as we know that, ED is currently investigating into it. But interestingly, to make out their case, the CCI also argued very diligently and smartly. What CCI said in this particular case in the court, when they wanted to get into the matter, they said, prima facie, this is an administrative direction of an investigative wing. Number two, none of the parties have challenged the inherent jurisdiction of the commission. Number three, they said there is an absence of a sectoral regulator for e-commerce in India. Number four, none of the parties have challenged the bona fides. None of the parties have challenged Wednesbury principle of unreasonableness, which means if you think something is unreasonable and there can be two views, then the two views are there, but CCI is entitled to its view. And then it went little up to tighten the collar to say that Supreme Court has also cautioned high courts against interfering in CCI prima facie orders under section 26(1) of the Act or review its merits. And then it started giving examples saying that, CCI has done its due analysis and have found that there are vertical arrangements in the nature of preferred sellers, preferential listing of sellers, etc. by Amazon and Flipkart, which were in violation in the context of section 3(4) of the Competition Act in the inter-platform, intra-platform and inter-channel distribution. So I think the message which has been given right now, if you interpret these particular developments, actions of CCI, arguments before the courts, the message is very clear. The CCI, through a series of cases, have said, wherever we find unfair privacy policy, predatory prices, anti-competitive agreements, any sort of price, non-price competition of dominant nature, etc., if there is an allegation to that extent, according to our competition law analysis, there is a potential appreciable adverse impact or effect on the competition. The trend we are seeing in that direction, that even if you think that something looks beyond the scope of it, CCI's standpoint is that we would like to evaluate the merit of the same, of course, which is subject to future judicial scrutiny. And that time it will be finally decided whether it was in the public interest or in the interest of competition. But this is what the structure and the framework which I am seeing directionally. That's my sense.
Thank you. So we have overshot, and I think Saraswat, I'll give you last word, maybe 3 minutes. I'm so sorry, I'm curtailing it. But while in India, you have heard that, and Zamir was saying that, like, one of the argument that parties are giving that we don't have privacy law in India. In Europe, we have GDPR. You also have a robust competition law enforcement there. What kind of debate do you see between privacy and competition law? And is there any overlap, or whether competition authorities are asserting themselves even under the privacy concern in the context that there is already a specific legislation?
Yeah, I mean, it's an important point, really. It's what you say is, I can draw from jurisprudence in the UK as well as the EU. In the UK, you have the ICO, which is the Data Protection Authority under the UK GDPR after Brexit. And you have the Competition Markets Authority, which is the competition regulator. In the EU, you've got the European Commission, as you know, and obviously the supervisory authority of each country. That's how the privacy landscape is organized. And then obviously you have the EU Commission and concurrent enforcement by local competition authorities. Now, it's not, I mean, obviously there's an overlap, as some of the panelists talked about. But it's not as if, like, it's the CCI or the commission over here is overreaching. It's all the time, because I'll tell you, privacy law is actually much broader in the domain of privacy, wherein a data subject can actually complain. I mean, the various obligations that any controller of data or processor of data is supposed to comply with, right? They have to have a lawful basis to use your data, process your data, and a whole lot of security measures they're supposed to put in place. And if there's a data breach, there's certain obligations to notify the authorities, and then to arrest the damage and things like that. And so data privacy more deals with these sort of things, whereas where the competition law links with privacy concerns is a particular aspect of that, and that's more to do with where again a lot to do with big tech, as well as maverick technology companies that are coming forward as well, which obviously live and die on analysis of consumer data and data from businesses. Now, for example, if an Amazon starts using data from the business customers it has, and then tailoring its own products accordingly, right? So very soon you'll have a situation where, as a seller, you're putting your products out there on Amazon, you're signing agreements which allow Amazon to use that data and obviously further entrench its own dominant position. And then finally you are out of business, right? So that's more a competition law issue, where data from that seller is being used, or say Amazon uses a lot of consumer data as well, right? About spending habits. The same data is there with Facebook as well, right? Which Facebook has Facebook Marketplace. Amazon has Amazon has its own products and as a retailer and as a marketplace. So that's when Amazon misuses data to perpetuate its already entrenched position, if I can call it that. That's the sphere that competition law would relate to, as opposed to, say, prima facie privacy law, which is mostly to do with data leaks, data breaches. For example, if your payroll service provider over here misplaces your data and it is lax about it, it gets leaked, right? So there's a lot of damage what that data can going everywhere can do to ordinary employees and data subjects, and that's more the domain, as I see, of privacy regulators. So obviously there's an overlap, but it's not as if that in the absence of privacy regulator, the CCI in India can just run amok. No, I mean, CCI can only touch these kind of situations. I'm not giving an exhaustive list, but I guess the more privacy law is more designed to protect, the ordinary consumer like you and me of rather more their personal data and not just any other data. And then if that is obviously, if harm comes there, then India has to have its own new privacy law, especially tailored to deal with that. I guess in this regard, it's important to see. I would, as a closing remark, like to mention that it's very interesting to see that suddenly India's had a bit of a policy shift, against platforms like WhatsApp. And Amir was just mentioning that in the Vinod Kumar judgment, it said obviously WhatsApp doesn't predatory price, everything's fine, and we won't interfere into privacy. Suddenly it does a U-turn. It's very important to see, again, I was talking about as in the Western world, the political will be behind regulatory changes in India has also undergone a bit of a shift. In India, suddenly there's this whole drive as to make these regulations very strict against intermediaries, and remove their exemption from liability that they had, and make their liability for posts on Facebook more stringent. That's happened recently. Again, the whole debate about freedom of speech going on. So the authorities in India seem to be having this whole tussle against social media and big regulators as well, and that could be driven by political reasons. So otherwise, maybe the bonhomie they had in the past has ended now. So that's again, obviously, that's another angle to it as well. So that could also be relevant.
Thank you so much, Saraswan. I think we have overshot our time. Thank you so much, all the panelists. This topic is so live and burning topic. I think these kind of one session is not enough, and I'm hoping to see you all again, discussing this topic, and let us churn something out for the practitioners, for the industry, and maybe even for the CCI and the government. Thank you so much. Thank you, Legal Era, for giving this opportunity.
Thank you to our esteemed panelist and our moderator of the session for this absolutely impactful and mindful session, and for sharing your perspectives and the takeaways. It has been indeed an enriching and a fruitful session. I would really urge all the audience to please give them a virtual round of applause for being here and adding so much of value and contribution from their end. Thank you. Really appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.